For both Claire and Shuichi, the original parameters of their mission had now changed. After meeting with the alien, learning of his origins, the truth about the coins, their mission had taken on a whole new light. Of course, in the grand scheme of things, nothing much had changed in form of objective. Of course, Claire still wanted answers from her sister Elaine, and revenge. That much was certain. But now there were more questions than answers. It still didn't explain the connection that Elaine had to Shuichi, or why she had him transformed into this weird wolf mascot creature-like thing. And then there were the other questions pondering their minds. The whole idea of other dimensions, these other realms. The alien was brief in explaining what they were. These other places. Earth, the Soul Society, Waco Mundo, Hell, the Kami Realm, and then finally, the Beast Realm. That was the origin of the alien, and of its power. The power to grant wishes, to bring one's own desires into reality. They weren't the only ones looking. There were others who were already on the hunt. As the alien would explain, he crashed down in the mountainside area of their village, and as such, that was a good place to look. Of course, it was like looking for a needle in a haystack, and there were always the even more alarming possibilities. Wind, rain, natural elements. There was no telling if all the coins were going to be in one area. For all they knew, what if a coin fell in the back of a truck or some moving vehicle? What if a bird swallowed it or something else? A coin might have started in one area, but it could just as easily go somewhere else. And because they couldn't pick it up on the camera phone or anything else, there was no use in using technology to help them in their search. They'd have to focus on just using their eyes. This was a large area, and they wouldn't be the only ones that were searching. After a few days of gathering supplies and everything they would need, both Shuichi and Claire would make their way into the region in question. The place they were looking for, there were no walking trails. So once you entered into that point of the forest, you had to be there looking for something. And Claire came to that realization. It also meant that once they entered into the forest, whoever they met inside was also going to be an enemy, a monster. Whatever they were doing, it couldn't be any good. This had Shuichi feeling a bit nervous. The way Claire was talking, she seemed more than content with killing everyone they came across. Of course, her main reason for going out there was because she knew that her sister couldn't be working alone. She had to have allies. But if that was the case, how many were there? How strong were they? All of these things had Claire thinking. They were going to need some allies of their own down the line. The only way to fight monsters was with more monsters. As they continued on in their journey into the mountains, Claire would bring up going inside of Shuichi. That way they could keep their identities secret. There was no telling who they were going to meet out here in these woods. And again, this was a small town. Everyone knew everyone, and it was pretty hard to hide your face. Even if everyone was searching out in the forest 24/7, chances are they had to go back home at some point. From kids to adults, everyone had lives that they had to live. They couldn't just be staying out here 24/7 unless they wanted to bring undue attention to themselves. That meant they were likely to meet with their enemies at school, the grocery store, the local mart, wherever, whenever. That would only make things more difficult. Of course, Shuichi was still filled with nerves, not knowing what they were going to get into. But unfortunately, the trouble wasn't too far away. As he used his smell, he could tell that an enemy was fast approaching. Claire, without hesitation, would strip down to her underwear and immediately enter inside of Shuichi. And she decided to take a different approach. Instead of waiting for the enemy to come to them, they went to the enemy. He was standing out in the clearing, a hulking-like being who seemed to have an armor made of black and spiked horns like that of the devil. There were red veins moving through his body like blood that was pulsating on the outside, and where his hands should be, there were nothing but large blades. It looked like he had fists made of razors. Razor fists, Shuichi thought. That would be a good nickname for him. The being in question turned to see the small but still statuesque mascot creature. "So, you actually decided to come to me," the armed monster said. "This is definitely a surprise. Normally, when an enemy feels me approaching, they try their best to run and hide and get away. But you actually came to me. Perhaps things will be different." Claire would do the talking inside of Shuichi, not wanting to tip off their potential enemy that there were two of them. Claire, of course, tried to feign ignorance, but the creature in question wasn't having it. He knew already that they were after the coins. After all, it was the only reason why they would be out here. However, he himself, he didn't come for the coins. He couldn't have cared about them. The only thing he cared about was finding a good fight. "I was given this power, but ever since I've had it, things have changed for me. I've tried fighting against other people, but they're too easy to defeat. I've gotten stronger, but there's no one that can match my strength." "So that's what you're looking for?" Claire would ask. "If you're just looking for a fight, then you have no reason to. It doesn't mean I'm letting you get away. Regardless, there's no point in turning back from my path. I will strike you down." Feeling the bloodlust that was oozing off of him, Shuichi would launch his attack. Before Claire even had a chance to butt in, he had already landed a punch, forcing their armored monster to block. He would comment on their strength. The power that was in that attack, if it had hit an ordinary human, it probably would have done severe damage, might even killed them. And this made him happy, because it meant now that they were actually trying. A fight should be a battle till the bitter end, a fight where they put their lives on the line. If they were actually going to give this their all, then he had no reason not to do the same. As the battle would continue, Claire would try to find a weak point, even having a chance to fire off a shot from their gun. The blades would catch the bullet, but the monster would transform, turning from his monster state to his human form, showing that where the bullet had struck the blades, it was actually his forearm. "That gun of yours is powerful. If I had been anyone else, or maybe if you had fired an extra shot, you might have done some more severe damage to me. It's nice to meet you. My name is Tadanori Sinbei." "Sinbei," Claire said. "It's a pleasure to meet you. But really, why do we have to be enemies?" "Because there's no choice for us. This is all I know. To go all out and to use my full strength. You're obviously capable of doing more. So perhaps you will be a challenge to me. For so long I had to hold back. Even basic fighting styles have done me little good. But I've been able to come up with my own." As Sinbei would transform once again, he would bend his back all the way. Under normal circumstance, he might have broken his own spine, but in his monster-like form, he could take it. It was like he was winding himself up, like the guillotine's axe being raised into the air before the slash would be brought down. Claire would move out of the way of the attack at the last moment, although she and Shuichi would be grazed by it. They took cover and began running in the opposite direction, as Claire had to come up with a plan at the last moment. Sinbei would give chase after, and before long he would find the mascot foe. But this time, they would go on the attack, as Shuichi would wrap his arms around Sinbei, holding his arms in place, squeezing with enough force that even if he had to exert himself to get him out, it would take him a moment. But that was what Claire was anticipating, as she stood behind him with the gun, just a few feet away from his back. From this range, she couldn't miss, and Sinbei knew it. He would be a bit confused at first, but soon the truth would be made clear. His opponent was not one, but it was two. And even with that comically large gun, which the recoil alone might have ended up doing more harm to Claire than anything else, if she got off a shot or two, it would be severe. They had got him in the checkmate. Sinbei would transform once again back into his human form, and Shuichi, panicking, would accidentally crush him. But it didn't kill him. He was alive, and he was grateful. They were unorthodox, but they gave him the fight that he was looking for, and now he was ready to accept death. But for Claire, she had no intentions on killing him. After all, what was the point in doing that? If she killed him, then she wouldn't gain anything. So instead, she wanted to know everything that he knew, and they would explain everything that they knew. Of course, for Sinbei, he had spoken to the alien, but he didn't care for his origin story. So he was surprised when he learned about these other realms. Wait, Sinbei would say. You're telling me that there are others out there? Other worlds with powerful fighters? Well, yeah, that's the gist of it, Shuichi would say. I am grateful. You have enlightened me. You've given me an opportunity. Something I didn't think that I'd ever get. And what's that? An opportunity to fight with all of my strength. You know, this isn't the only place where you can fight, Claire would say. There are tournaments out there with powerful fighters. Yes, I know a few. In fact, there's actually one that's coming up. I was hoping that I could find a powerful opponent before then, but now I think I might have to turn my attention to that very tournament. Tournament? What tournament? Shuichi would ask. You seriously don't know? Claire would say. It's the King of the Iron Fist. It's one of the strongest martial arts tournaments in the world. I hear that not just ordinary men compete in that tournament, but monsters too. Wait, monsters? Do you think they're like us? Shuichi would ask. Who knows? In the end, it's a whole bunch of rich and powerful weirdos duking it out on live television. Yes, I'm aware of that tournament. The last few have been quite controversial, to say the least. Of course, to have a chance to fight against one of the legendary Mishimas, that would truly be an honor. So why don't you just wait till then? Shuichi would ask. Why are you just going to come out to the mountains looking for a fight when you could wait for the tournament? Because it's hard to stay still when all you can think about is battle and you crave it. I'm trying to satiate that hunger, Shuichi. And now my hunger has brought me here, and it's brought me to the likes of you two. I am in your debt. If there's anything you need of me, just ask. Tell us everything you know about the gatherers out here. And, is there any way we can have you on speed by? Speed by? Well, on standby, but with speed. A quick call and you can come out. Unfortunately, I can't do that. And why not? I don't have a phone. It wouldn't be very manly if I did. Claire would just roll her eyes at that statement, thinking that it was the most stupid and idiotic thing she had ever heard. They'd have to get him a phone, but he made it very clear the only people he was willing to help was Shuichi and Claire. He had no intentions on getting involved with any of the other gatherers, but he could point them in the right direction. And thankfully, the opportunity would present itself as another large-like monster would appear, attempting to blackmail the group using a photo that he had taken of Shuichi and Claire. This monster called himself Pseudo, and Sambe wouldn't take too kindly to his insolence, his cowardice, and with one slash he cut him down. Now having an ally, Claire would set her focus on meeting with a group of gatherers. It didn't take too long. After going through Pseudo's phone, they found that there were others that he was blackmailing. Among them, a boy named Ikichui. He had a strange technique. He could turn his entire head into a camera lens and take photos. Ikichui would invite both Claire and Shuichi to his group of gatherers, led by an older girl named Sayaka. Sayaka would accept Claire and Shuichi into her group, but under some strict conditions. Especially with Claire, she wanted her to undergo the ritual, with her using her own technique on Claire as a way of ensuring that they could be trusted. She wove a choker out of her own hair, making it into a necklace and placing it around Claire's neck as it absorbed into her skin. This would be like a binding vow of sorts. If Claire were to ever speak of their group to anyone, betraying their secrets, or if Claire ever felt that her actions would betray the group, then her neck would be snapped and her head would roll from her shoulders. Of course, Claire was a bit surprised that Sayaka would have such a technique, one that was so specific. But as Sayaka would explain, when dealing with the alien, whenever you asked for anything, you had to be specific. If you had the idea of how you wanted your power to work, then that's how it would work. But if it was vague, then it would simply be left up to chance. Of course, while Claire was undergoing the ritual, Shuichi would be with the rest of Sayaka's group, a lot of them having their own mixed feelings about bringing two total strangers, especially for the one that had invited him, the boy, Ikuchi. He had this uneasy look about him, as if he really didn't want them to be here, as if there was some secret but he didn't want it to get out. Meanwhile, there was another one, a girl by the name of Chihiro. She wore a giant motorcycle helmet on her head, but she was very trusting of Shuichi. She would pet him like he was a dog, and she could sense his emotions. She could tell that he was honest and true, and so he had gained her trust. And she also needed help. You see, while they were out gathering, she lost her wallet. And in this sort of business, that wasn't a very good thing. Of course, for Shuichi, he was coming to learn more about this group, about their goals. And for Sayaka, she made it very clear. They wanted to collect as many of the coins as possible to broker a deal with the alien. and to hopefully prevent any unsavory individuals from getting their hands on the coins and the power that came along with it. Of course, Sayaka would ask Claire what exactly her mission was and why she was out here. Feeling like there was no point in lying, Claire would show a picture of her sister on her phone. "This is who I'm after," Claire would say. "I see the resemblance. Your older sister? So she's involved as well. She's a part of a group. I know she is. That's why I need to find her and take her down." "So you're after revenge?" "She killed our parents, and I don't know what else she's up to. But she transformed Shuichi, and we need to know why." "So it's a mystery then." "That is intriguing. But you're not after power?" "Of course not. What good would it do me anyway? I'm more than content to live a normal life when this is over, but only when this is over." "Well, if you truly mean what you say, then perhaps our goals align after all. From the way that you two are able to handle yourselves, you're quite powerful. We could use that type of power on our side. You and that boy. And we're more than willing to lend you that power, if you're willing to lend us your support. You hate people who lie, and you hate people who can't keep a secret. So there should be no secrets between us. I'm after revenge. Nothing more and nothing less. I have ways that could help your group tremendously, but they're my ways, and I don't have to share them with you unless I want to. Not like it would do you any good." "Oh, and what's that?" "I have an ally or two, but they're loyal to me, and they've made it very clear that they won't be coming to save you, so don't even bother asking. But if I use them in such a way, it could be beneficial to everyone. Wouldn't you agree?" You sure know how to negotiate, Claire. But, what the hell, I'm curious. I agree. If you have a way of helping our group and helping our cause, then you can keep your secrets to yourself. But again, do not betray me. Do not betray the group. Or, yeah, I know, off with my head? Don't worry, I have my own issues to deal with. Betraying you, it's the furthest thing from my mind. Meanwhile, on the outskirts of town, 4 distinct individuals make their presence known. They had arrived in Japan in search of a criminal. As to why that criminal had led them to this remote area, they had no idea, but they had to stand on guard for anything. There was a woman, a well-dressed military man, another man wrapped in bandages, and one who was a hulking behemoth whose body had been stitched together. They were members of an elite task force that dealt with the strange and mysterious. They were known as the Howling Commandos. Their leader, Elsa Bloodstone. Her right-hand man, Dum Dum Dugan, the muscle of the group, Frankenstein's monster, or Frankie for short, and the mysterious mummy, Encantu. Their reason for being here? A very important prisoner had escaped, and it was up to them to bring her in by any means necessary. She may appear to be a weak and frail old woman, but do not let her looks deceive you, for she is anything but weak, and if you underestimate her, you will die. Their target, Verussa Bloodstone, and she was to be brought in by any means necessary. This concludes Gleipnir, Legion of Monsters, What If Shuichi Was the Werewolf, Season 1, Part 3. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned tomorrow evening as we continue with Gleipnir, Legion of Monsters, What If Shuichi Was the Werewolf, Season 1, Part 4. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time.